Good afternoon, councillors, those who are joining us here, Mr Baines, and those who are streaming in. We gather here today on the unceded lands of the original and continuing owners of the Palawa people here, Flatuita, and we announce the meeting now open at 1 p.m. Agenda item number 1, we have no apologies here this afternoon. No medical acknowledgements with number 2. Do we have any declarations of interest? Item number 3 on the agenda. As a councillor, we must declare any interest that councillors have in a matter before any discussion on that matter commences. Do we have any declarations of interest today? There being none, moving on to item agenda number 4, confirmation of minutes. Do I have somebody to move that the minutes are accurate record? Councillor Harris, a seconder. Councillor Palmer. Okay, all those in favour? That is all councillors present. Motion is carried. Agenda item number 5, council workshops. 5.1, council workshop report. The recommendation is to consider and note that council workshops were conducted since the last council meeting, and those workshops have been Christmas in the City 2023, the Lilydale Men's Shed, Harvest Market site options, councillor professional development opportunities and access, City Heart, and the Launceston Aquatic Centre overview. Do I have somebody to move the recommendation? Councillor Britton. Somebody to second? Councillor Kai. Councillor Britton is the mover. Would you like to speak? Councillor Kai, would you like to speak to the workshops? Any other speakers to the workshops from the floor? To close? Yes?
With the councillors' professional development opportunities and access, Joe and I we decided to start on the training program online, and Leanne's been helping us with that. So we spent Tuesday all day, and we've got halfway through, and we will continue doing the rest of it next Tuesday as well. And I really highly recommend if any other councillors would like to join us to do that. Yeah, thank you.
Fantastic, thank you, and thank you to your initiative, and also thank you to Leanne for the time that she's spending, taking time out to ensure that we're able to continue to progress, continue to learn and move forward. As councillors, it's great. Councillor Britton is the mover. Anything further to close? Okay, taking that one to a vote. All of those in favour? That is all councillors present. Motion is carried. Agenda item number 6, we have no councillors' leave of absence applications that have been identified as a part of the agenda. So moving forward to number 7, we've got no community reports today. And number 8 on the agenda is public question time, 8.1. Public questions on notice, 8.1.1. You will see the question in there from Mr Grofton around the Elfinwood Square and flood mitigation measures in Newstead, and the responses there in the agenda. Moving forward to agenda item 8.2, public questions without notice, noting that the rules of public questions without notice are available and displayed upon entry. You may ask up to 3 questions each. Noting that Mr Baines has moved up to the microphone. Mr Baines.
Thank you, Mr Mayor. Given the remarks by our General Manager at the last meeting regarding separation of recyclable materials at the trip face, I will presume that he is not aware of the hundreds of tonnes of same material prevented from going to landfill by the employees of EcoSalve, who I worked for around 8 years. Now, asbestos is separated from other material, and recyclable material is just an extension of that. Council's suggestion at that time, we wait a few years, is not acceptable. We have been doing that for about 10 years now, while council put this in the too hard basket. So my question number 1 is, does this council believe that saving a few cans and plastic bottles, which they seem to do quite well, that nobody wants, compares to hundreds of tonnes of good material saved by EcoSalve and all its previous employees? Thank you.
Thank you, Mr Baines, and thank you for your passion in this space, in a space that you've worked in. I might ask General Manager Eberhardt to come and shed some further insight from a council point of view.
Thanks, Mr. Baines. I believe you might have misinterpreted the answer I gave at last council meeting. I must say...
Do you mind if you use
Mr. Baines, just no back and forth. You've asked...
No, I can't hear him.
Okay.
Can you use a microphone, please? I'm half deaf, mate.
So thanks for the question again. I believe you misrepresented the answer that I provided last time. I must say it is an important issue for council. At no time did I say that we were separating stuff from the tip face. That we recognise that that's a challenge and that there's materials going to our landfill that we'd prefer not to. In terms of bottles and cans, I think it's unfair to say that they're not of value. Almost our curbside services divert around 7,000 tonnes a year of materials collected from our recyclable curbside bins. So that is a substantial amount. And the amount of diversion that's occurring now through our curbside, our FOGO, curbside recycling and our materials facility that we operate in partnership with City Mission is far in excess than what we've ever done in the past. So, but we recognise the need to do better. The council have made a commitment under the Sustainability Action Plan, as well as the Northern Regional Waste Management Group have made a commitment to invest in construction and demolition recycling facilities. So that's on the agenda, and we're working through what that could look like. So.
Okay, thank you. Well, my last question was whether the council would talk with other councils. Well, obviously, you're doing that at the moment. Yes. Okay.
Yes.
So just one thing: if the council decided to put some of its employees up there and recycle those materials, I'm more than happy to work there for a week and help them out and train them in what they need to do. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Baines.
For free.
As there are no further questions without notice, we have had an agenda item has been deferred for what was proposed to be 9.1 as planning authority. So we'll be moving forward from agenda item number 9 into agenda item number 10. Announcements by the Mayor, 10.1. Okay, so I was lucky enough to attend on Friday night a really pleasant evening in the Quadrant Mall, in which Eleonora Pulcini has opened a fine art gallery. She had some live entertainment. She had also some canapes and just a brilliant display of some of her work based around some of that being local views from her house as she is relocated here, looking out her window. Saturday the 12th, an incredibly well put together program and a very well ran event. I'm incredibly proud to have been in attendance there of fellow councillor Andrew Palmer's dance sport at the Silverdome. So thank you, Councillor Palmer, for the continued work that you did in that space. It was a really, really well attended event and a very exclusive and inclusive event, which was fantastic to see this year. We had Sunday, the AFL game, the final one for the Hawks against the Bulldogs at UTAS Stadium. And then also we had that week going forward into the Wednesday night, I was able to attend and help facilitate with our incredible events team the City of Launceston's viewing of the Matildas at UTAS. And that was an incredibly well-attended space for those who just wanted somewhere to come along and to get into UTAS who perhaps hadn't ever even been in there before. A lot of multicultural parts of our community were in attendance too, so that was really great to see. On Thursday, we would see the Euston College production of Heathers that was at the Princess Theatre. And then also on the Friday, we officiated the Vietnam Veterans Day service at the Cenotaph, followed by the barbecue out there in Kings Meadows. On that Friday night as well, there was EWA, which you would have seen in the Examiner this week, at Tasdance Assembly 197, spending some time in there creating music and giving us a real insight into the process that EY was going through and how that residency was going forward, spending some time here listening to our local sounds, our local soundscapes as that work was created. Good question and answer session there as well. On the Monday, the 21st, presented the keys. This was a fantastic initiative. We've just been through workshop around some developments in the northern suburbs with the Rec Hub. Well, just almost directly opposite is the Newnham Lanes. There are some new units there, fully accessible to the residents there that have been not having to have been retrofit, but fit for purpose for 9 new residents. And I was really privileged to have a personal little bit of a showing of some of those residents who very graciously let us into the space that they'll now be taking on. A really great initiative has been put forward there and a really well executed initiative there, which has been supported by the state government as well as local investors. On the 23rd, there was the industry mentor that was taken on by the Smith family, which I was lucky to be a part of at the East Tamar Primary School yesterday. And then also to have attended last night the annual general meeting for the NTCA in their function room. So a really well-versed and versatile group of things happening throughout our beautiful municipality. Moving to agenda item number 11, councillors' reports. Do we have some councillors' reports? Councillor Dawkins.
Thank you. I thought it's about time I reported back from the Newstead College School Association. I realise I haven't done that yet. It's been a really interesting time for the college, no doubt about it. Lost a couple of key teachers in the last year, so weren't able to put on courses that would have met 100 or 150 additional students would be at the school. So they're feeling the pinch as much as we are about not being able to get the skilled professionals they need. In actual fact, teachers are leaving some of those skilled workshops to go back into industry where they can earn so much more money. So it's completely understandable, but it has put the school on the back foot. So they have employed the Van Diemen project to come in and workshop with ongoing feeder schools and any young people in the community who are interested to find out exactly what it is that they want from their college so that they're able to provide that. Look, the breadth and the depth of the work at that college is absolutely astounding. They really are an absolute credit to the educational institutions in this place. And now understanding what it is that people want from them more, I think it's a matter of being bold and brave and getting out there and telling the success story of Newstead College. They also wanted to thank Council for coming along to Careers Day. That's a great opportunity for Council to find some really fantastic new recruits. So I'll keep updating you because it's a really, really important college for our school.
Thank you, Councillor Dawkins. Councillor Palmer.
Thank you very much, Mayor. It was my great honour to represent you at the Lilydale sub-branch, 50th anniversary of Vietnam Veterans Day. A beautiful light supper was provided thanks to a community grant that the City of Launceston of $1,500 gave to the Lilydale sub-branch. And it was a wonderful, wonderful day, something very close to my heart. My uncle is a returned serviceman from Vietnam. He's no longer with us, but we had a guest speaker down there by Kay Millwood, and Kay was a registered nurse and nursing all the different casualties that came home from Vietnam. My uncle was shot and did get sent home. He survived, but it was just an interesting conversation I had with the wonderful Kay, and it was a very emotional talk that she gave. So we thank her very much. Also, a bit of an update on the playground. Everyone may have seen the playground is almost complete. It's gone in. I was lucky enough to be there as the cement truck was rolling in to put in the cement into the footings. That's exciting. So thank you very much to Michael and his team for helping us get that done. And just an update for those people that are interested on the Russell Plains Road and the gate situation out there and the many cars that are being stolen and burnt out along that road and on that farm. We are doing everything we can. And just a shout out to Lee Handley and his team here at the City of Launceston for the daily work that they do, fixing that gate out there and the many other things that they do. And I just want to thank Lee for replying to my many emails on a daily basis to do whatever we can to stop people going out there and burning off the cars and things like that. I realise it's a difficult situation, but we're almost to the bottom of it. So thank you very much.
Thank you, Councillor Palmer. Deputy Mayor.
Thank you. I rise to talk about a topic I rarely talk about because of my role as a board director at the Launceston Airport, but just really announcing today the great announcement out at the airport, which is notifying that Bonza is about to fly in and out of Launceston as its only route in and out of Tasmania. So it's sort of one of its first expansion out of the eastern seaboard of Australia. So we're going to be able to fly from here to the Gold Coast and back again. And I think $79 fares are on the go from the 21st of November. So that's exciting news, and sort of just watch this space. I think there's a lot more future development to come, but I just think it's some really good news that that the people of Launceston will be proud of.
Great. Thank you, Deputy Mayor. Councillor McMahon.
Thank you, Mayor. Not something that's in my capacity as a councillor, but I thought it was worth mentioning the fundraising event held on Saturday night at the Country Club Casino for the Benevolent Society. I was fortunate enough to be on the committee with an amazing group of women. I'm actually going to list all of those ladies because they put a lot of time and effort into it. Michelle Clark, Karen Crane, Tamika Lynch, Michelle Williams, Monica Plunkett, Catherine Cocker and Tracy Bagger. I'd like to thank everyone who contributed on the evening from our community, and the event actually raised $94,000 and will help go towards assisting those in need in our community. Thank you.
Right, thank you. Councillor Harris.
Thank you, Mayor. And along with yourself and Councillor Pentridge, I attended the Vietnam Veterans Day at Royal Park, which was 50 years since Australia's involvement in the Vietnam War finished in 1973. We had an inspirational speaker there, Ben Eisel, who spoke about his great uncle, who went away as a conscript and lost his life as one of 17 Tasmanians in that conflict. And it was a very moving experience. The unfortunate fact is that the number of veterans from that conflict is getting less and less because, by definition, if we went out 50 years ago, they're probably 70 plus now. But nevertheless, a very sobering day to spend listening there on Friday morning. And also you and I met with Alison Hetherington and Rafael from T-Bug to talk about all things cycling on Wednesday the 16th, where I could say that Alison certainly lobbied very hard for Council's continued involvement in providing cycling infrastructure and particularly plans to bring forward the off-road cycling infrastructure as quickly as we can. Thank you.
Any further councillor reports? There being none, moving it forward to agenda item number 12, questions by councillors. 12.1, councillors' questions on notice. There were no questions on notice. 12.2, councillors' questions without notice. Do we have any questions? Councillor Kai.
I have already asked Dan, but I might just get him to rephrase. So I have been approached by the public regarding increased number of dogs not on leash in the Trevelyan area. So could I ask General Manager Dan Ryans to remind the community what the law is regarding this and explain what they should do when they do see this issue? Thank you.
Thank you, Councillor Kai. General Manager Ryan, just around the responsibilities of dog owners, I believe.
Thank you for the question, Councillor Kai. So I guess pertinently, the most pertinent thing to point out would be, regardless of whether your dog is on lead or off lead, the ownership, the responsibility of managing that dog safely sits with the owner. If there are examples where people cite in our community, people who aren't applying appropriate controls to their dog, they should absolutely notify council. And we, where possible and where we have the resource available to us, try and get officers there in a timely manner to address the concerns, and where necessary, infringe as appropriately.
Any further questions without notice? Councillor Pentridge?
Just one little thing that I might bring up. One of our former councillors was a little bit emotional, I think, last Thursday at the other office, and he, a prize dog of his, got mauled at a normal run by an unrestrained dog. He was quite emotional, as you can imagine, and it just seems a pity. I'm not sure we can't. I'm not sure how we can fix all that, but it's a pity we couldn't. There may be areas that are fenced off or something where people with prized animals, I mean, I'm a great dog lover, and it is quite emotional. I mean, I'm not quite sure how I'd behave if someone's dog was to damage my dog, let alone kill it. So I don't know, it's just something for thought. Yeah, thank you.
Thank you, Councillor Pentridge, and I can answer that in a way that there will be a review going on of our council-owned off and on-leash areas. This council doesn't have a policy around having to have our off-leash areas fenced, but as General Manager Ryan was saying, it is the responsibility of the dog owner, but that doesn't go to say that we can't do more in that space to ensure that our signage is consistent and there is continuity around what it looks like. And I know, being someone that frequents Heritage Forest, I am really proud of the previous council as to how they've divided that in a way that greyhounds do have a specific off-leash area, and I very much enjoy walking and seeing my little dogs running along the fence next to them trying to keep up. No, I think that's a great initiative that this council has moved forward with previously, and not to say that there isn't more that we can do in this space. So thank you for bringing that to the table, and I do look forward to seeing how council moves forward in ensuring that these sorts of incidents are minimalised as much as possible. Further questions without notice? There being none, moving forward to agenda item number 13, committee reports. 13.1, Cultural Advisory Committee meeting the 2nd of August. The recommendation is that council receives the report from the City of Launceston Cultural Advisory Committee. That meeting held on the 2nd, as mentioned. Do I have somebody to move the recommendation? Councillor Walker? A seconder? Councillor Britton? Councillor Walker.
Thank you, Mayor. Yes, just a report there, as people can note at their leisure, that the Cultural Advisory Committee certainly has slowly gathered a little bit of momentum around potential installations and or happenings in regards to public art, including murals and possibilities for sculptures that may be located on council property. These things have to obviously go through a process, whether it's to do with heritage or suitability of the location, but I note in the report that it is indeed Pete Melita's sculpture called Transients, which has long been in the hands of Tasmanian Gas, is it TasGas, that may well become a part of Launceston City public art. Also note, we did receive from Kim Lehman, Dr. Kim Lehman, a suggestion that Launceston Council, certainly something that he feels passionate about too, looks towards the possibility of a creative arts precinct, something that's long been talked about in Launceston, whether it's people from theatre who need space for rehearsals and space for set construction and things like that, whether it's practising artists who need space for construction or sculpting, the many and varied uses, and not something that, doesn't exist in other cities around Australia, quite often with the support of a local council. So I suppose I bring that up just so that members of the community and certainly members of this council can consider that suggestion. It will certainly come to council in a more formal form at some stage, but at the moment it's seen as something, and I won't speak on the committee's behalf, but certainly by myself, something that would certainly augment our cultural practice and public art, and a tangible way that Launceston Council can commit and support the broader arts community. Where, how it would be funded, all those sort of things. Plenty of questions you can ask, but nonetheless, it's good to see these ideas being brought forward and how they can be brought to fruition. Other than that, more practical matters discussed, including public art to be put on the Kings Meadows car park public toilet, some space that's long been a place of contention. So it's targeted, vandalised, things like that, and it has been shown many times that public art in these sort of places can help to contribute to something that's more able to be kept presentable and less likely to be targeted. So that's just a few of the things that have been on the agenda there, and I will note that Kim Seagram, who's been a long-time member of that committee, has chosen to resign. So certainly we thank her for the work that she's done there and, of course, ongoing work that she does throughout the community. Thank you, Chair.
Thank you. Councillor Britton is the seconder. Any other speakers around the table? Anything further, Councillor Walker, to close? Okay, putting the recommendation to the vote. All of those in favour? That is all councillors present. Motion is carried. 13.2. Municipal Emergency Management Committee meeting on the 13th of July. The recommendation is to receive the report. Do I have somebody to move? Thank you, Deputy Mayor. A seconder? Councillor Harris. Deputy Mayor.
This is simply reporting the matters that were tabled at our recent regular meeting of the Municipal Emergency Management Group, which is made up of the SES, the police, fire services, council officers and other people related to any emergency situations within the city. So it's a great opportunity for us to share our ideas and discuss how we deal with things in the matter of emergency. I guess one of the big things that we're dealing with is the finalisation of the evacuation response at the moment. And again, off the back of our very, I think, successful conversation we had about our 300-year flood exercise that we did a few weeks ago, just sort of getting the feedback in relation to that and how that impacts on the evacuation. So I think the conversations are really, really fruitful in that we all learn something from these things, and I guess helps us be in a better place for the eventuality of such an emergency taking place. So it's really good to see the various groups come together, discuss openly about things that are challenging for them, as well as the things that they're actually doing, so that we can all work in a coordinated manner. And it was also good to have a report from the Homeless Advisory Committee, because clearly in the event of an emergency in and around the city, some of our most vulnerable people are the ones at most at risk, and looking at how that happens and how we might deal with those situations in the event of a flood or some other natural disaster that we need to deal with. So it was great to have that feedback, and it's great to have those that fluidity of conversation between various areas which are impacted by such events.
Thank you. Councillor Harris is the seconder. Any other speakers to the item? To close? No. Okay, putting it to the vote then. All of those in favour? That is all councillors present. The motion is carried. 13.3, the Transport Committee meeting. The recommendation to receive the report, moved by Councillor Harris. A seconder? Councillor Pentridge. Councillor Harris is the mover.
Thank you. Yes, this is just the update from our July meeting. There's only 3 or 4 items on there. The one that's probably of most interest, and I'm just looking to find the right page on my thing, and I can't do it, was to do with Bike Week, which will occur in early March 2024, where there is some work underway to encourage more use of bikes as active transport to come into the city on a Saturday. So more of that will be rolled out closer to the event, but it is something that is close to my heart, and I'm sure close to many people. If they want to get out of their car, we have to find an alternative way to do it, and this will be a day, I think it's the 2nd of March 2024, to perhaps take the opportunity to ride to town, even if they come from further afield and park, say, out at Inveresk and then ride from there. It will still be part of it. So keep your eye out for that. Most of the other bits were just what was mentioned in the report. Thank you.
Thank you, Councillor Harris. Councillor Pentridge is the seconder.
I can only agree with Councillor Harris, but one of the points, and we are, as you have pointed out, a very diverse council. I'd love to see this as an opportunity, Bike Week, where we can encourage more kids. Surely, between us all, being as diverse as we are, we can come up with some ideas to make it a fun day for them and maybe introduce them to the road. And it's not quite as scary as what everyone thinks. So I'll put it out there that it could be a great event, especially if it's a nice day, where we can get more kids on the road and enjoy it. Thank you.
Thank you, Councillor Pentridge. Any other speakers to the motion? Councillor Harris to close. Okay, putting that to a vote. All those in favour? That is all councillors present. The motion is carried. Agenda item number 14, Creative Arts and Cultural Services Network. 14.1, the Queen Victoria Museum and Art Gallery Quarterly Report, April to June 2023. The recommendation is to receive the report. May I have somebody to move the recommendation? Councillor Kai? A seconder? Councillor McMahon? Councillor Kai, would you like to speak as the mover? Councillor McMahon?
Thank you. I think it's worth noting that Shane's obviously doing a great job out there, because every time we get a report, we're seeing increases right across the board. So I think some recognition to that is appropriate. Thank you.
Thank you. Speakers around the table, Deputy Mayor Mackenzie.
Thank you. I just stand. I love the reporting. Being a man of numbers, it's great to see the numbers. The numbers actually paint a picture, I think, in many ways about where the QV mag is going, and I think it's a simple, easy methodology of doing it. And clearly, when they go in the other direction, it shows that way. But the last two reports are showing increasing patronage of the QV mag, and I think that's wonderful. And I think, moreover, when you read through the diverse number of exhibitions, either locally sourced or even externally sourced, I think it really just shows that we're starting to really build the momentum in relation to what the QV mag actually can achieve as a community resource. And it's great to see the numbers of students coming through the QV mag. Only I was disappointed in was the planetarium went the other way, but I think that's maybe partly through a refurbish issue that probably created some of that. But I'm sure the numbers will be back in droves in regards to that. And noting that there's a new one on a new exhibition coming up on the 6th of September, which is about aviation, something that the city should be very proud of its history in. So there's a great exhibition coming to town there. So I welcome everybody to go and have a look.
Any other speakers around the table to the report? There being none, Councillor Kai to close. Okay, putting the motion to the vote. All of those in favour? That is all councillors present. The motion is carried. Agenda item number 15, Infrastructure and Assets Network, 15.1, the Northern Tasmanian Sports Facility Plan. So the recommendation here is to consider and endorse the Northern Tasmanian Sports Facility Plan 2023. Do I have somebody to move the recommendation? Councillor Mackenzie, Deputy Mayor. A seconder? Councillor Harris. Deputy Mayor, would you like to speak to the motion?
Yeah, I will. And firstly, thank you. And I think it's a great win in that we've actually got our region having a conversation about things which we all participate in and trying to look at what our facilities look like throughout the region. So I think that's a really seminal moment for us as a region to actually cooperatively work together to look at what our collective needs look like. And I think that's really probably the best thing that comes out of the report for me, is that sort of collection of thought and knowing where things are throughout our region. We're not huge by way of distance to travel anywhere. We do have a lot of people that come in and use the facilities in Launceston, but equally we need to make sure that if there are facilities outside of Launceston, that we make sure that they are managed into the profile of what we do and see. It's been some interesting things in there, and I hope that this is sort of an ongoing conversation with sporting groups. I know that a couple of conversations that I've had with one or two that might have felt that they were represented differently in the report to the way they would have liked to have been, and sort of those that are sort of going up and going down, is making sure that this municipality and this region actually thrives on difference, and noting the fact that just because we have a sport which is highly participative versus some which might be a little bit niche, that we need to make sure that we cater for all the needs of our community, albeit, like in most things, things that have greater use by the community are likely to have a greater focus put on them and greater energy from the people who are running those organisations. And we clearly see that coming through in relation to the shortage of courts, in particularly basketball and netball, AFL as well, and that's probably a resurgence of the AFL women's game, more particularly, which is probably growing the pie in relation to that. I think this is a report, provided it's not static, and that we continue to have conversations with our community as we start to make decisions about how we do develop the future courts. And I think one of the other things that are in there is also talking about, as time goes by, things change, things become popular, things become less popular. So therefore, where we can is to make sure that the facilities that we build have a level of transportability into other types of functions. If at some stage what we think we want today in the next 5 years, in 10 years' times change, that when we build facilities with a bit of capability to make sure that we can adapt to the things that we do. So I commend the report, as I say, as long as as we go forward, that we still seek confirmation from the various sporting clubs about what their needs are, and make sure that if we're looking to move one facility to somewhere else and changing the way that we do things, that we still go back and make sure we check before we say, well, this is more high use as this, so you're gone, you're moving somewhere else. It may be appropriate, but as long as we do it in the right way and we make sure we cater for the needs of those sports that may be dislocated as a result of any of the decisions that are made.
Thank you, Deputy Mayor. Councillor Harris is the seconder.
Yeah, thank you, Mayor. I must admit, when I read this report, there was a few things that I found a bit puzzling until I just read some of the other, I guess, greater detail on why some sports didn't seem to be included. One that immediately sprung to mind was golf. Lots of golf clubs, but as they are not on council-owned land, they aren't included in this report. It doesn't mean there aren't lots of golfers out there. And perhaps it might also explain some of the other comments on some sports, such as bowls, which seems to have say that it's a low participation sport, which seems to be counterintuitive when you look at the summer bowls program, when there's a lot of bowls teams spread across the whole north. And similarly, there's no mention of any mountain bike trails, and I guess that could be because they're not on council-owned land, probably mostly on state forest, so state government-owned land, nor any pump tracks, but maybe they're considered recreation in the same way that a playground is considered recreation rather than an actual sport. But needless to say, as Councillor Mackenzie said, it is good to have received this report to understand what the whole region has as its assets, to make sure that we can then look at where the holes are, where there needs to be more council input into building some infrastructure. Basketball is often quoted where we need a lot more courts than what we've currently got. However, we don't seem to be able to use a lot of the state government-owned school courts as much as they could be. But nevertheless, it's a start of a plan. But I don't know if the General Manager has any comment that he'd like to make about the mountain biking and or pump tracks not being included. BMX is included, but that's on a council-owned facility out at St Leonard's. But there isn't anything else other than the velodromes, which are at Longford and Georgetown, and also the Cape Reed Reserve, isn't mentioned, surprisingly enough, but that's probably because it's on a state government-owned site. But anyway, I just wondered if there's any comments about what's in or out and whether there's anything that needs further comment.
CEO, for any further comments?
Thanks, Mr Mayor. Look, I'd just draw your attention to that action 10.1, and I think it's how you define it. I think, Councillor, like it said, continue to monitor demand for off-road cycling and additional facilities across the study area in line with population growth and demand for sport. So I think that's a catch-all. Because off-road cycling involves, those tracks made of, dirt or gravel. It's just basically anything other than concrete. So I think that is a catch-all to collect that, and it's certainly highlighted through participation trends that there are needs for BMX and pump tracks, and certainly I saw actions through the plan for that. So I think it's captured. It's just how you want it, how that's actually classified, I think.
Any other speakers to the item? Councillor Walker.
Yeah, certainly, and this is the type of thing, the report from NTDC that shows the use and benefit of that organisation where it can do a regional assessment like this. I note that it is, based largely in those sports that do have organised clubs, I suppose. They're the ones who did respond to the report. It's not to say that others aren't included. I play ultimate frisbee. We're not mentioned there, but we just use anyone's field. So the more fields, the better, really. We don't need lines on a park or a goal or anything like that. But I suppose that's the point. The more of these recreational facilities, if our population is increasing, well, it has, there will be fluctuations in that. And as Councillor Mackenzie, through you, Chair, referred to, there is fluctuations in participation in these sports. And, for a few years there, it was the rise of soccer, football. That might happen again with, recent events in women's soccer, for example. So we can't always be right on the edge of providing for all these things. And you can see the shortfall there that we have already in quite a few areas. Excuse me, that will... become more of a problem over time, and that's probably the useful information to have there in that planning, not just for Launceston municipality, but for our surrounding municipalities. Launceston, you would imagine, will always have the more premier facilities when it comes to things like swimming or AFL and things like that, but there's no reason why significant facilities can't be based outside of Launceston. The parents of children who play sport are used to driving to Scottsdale or Longford or Deloraine, wherever it may be, to play a game of football. And that would be no different if there was to be significant sporting facilities based outside of Launceston. That probably won't be the norm ever, but it is something that's worthy of consideration in this report. Thank you.
Councillor Gibson.
Thanks so much for the opportunity to speak to this one. Obviously a long time coming, but I think it's been worth the wait because I think the work is outstanding. And I think for me, importantly, it encapsulates that idea of partnerships, which I think are fundamental to the ongoing provision of adequate sport and recreation facilities. Partnerships with schools, paramount, and I note that that's encapsulated very well. And obviously with private enterprise as well, which is mentioned. I think the number of responses is pleasing, over 1,500, noting that over half of those came from the City of Launceston-based respondents. But I want to also say that what I thought was really great was the way that a number of sporting groups got behind the work, obviously in their best interest to do so. Some really mobilised their membership very well. But I think they'll be pleased with the result because it's a really great piece of work. And importantly, the three recommendations, particularly the second two, I guess reaffirm our commitment, our ongoing commitment to the provision of these sporting and recreational facilities for a variety of different uses. So I want to thank the consultants and thank everyone who was involved because it has been worth the wait. And now, obviously, as others have said, we need to continue the work and need to be ready for, ultimate frisbee and other sports that come along, because very frequently there are people who have come to the council wanting space and wanting to use spaces for new sports or sports that are new to Launceston and surrounds. So being ready for that and open to that, I think, is really important.
Thank you. Any further speakers from the table? Deputy Mayor to close.
Thanks, and I'm just getting visions of Councillor Walker in his ultimate frisbee outfit. But look, it's great, so thank you. And I think the most important thing is it's about activation and I think activity, and so therefore participation is the key. Whilst a lot of things focus around the elite end of sport, which I think is still important for aspirational reasons, we still need to make sure that it's available to all of our members of the community. And so any plan and recreation plan that we have needs to encompass the community at large and not just the top end.
Putting the motion to the vote, all those in favour? That is all councillors present. Motion is carried. 16 on the agenda, Organisational Services Network. 16.1 is the fees and charges for 23-24, hall hire and community use. So the recommendation is to consider and approve the changes that have been put forward for the fees and the charges. Do I have somebody to move the recommendation? Councillor Palmer? A seconder? Councillor Harris? Councillor Palmer?
Thank you very much, Mayor, and what a wonderful outcome. I thank Nathan and his team for putting this forward. It shows the community, and I believe we're a very community-based council. It shows them that we're listening, we are acting, and as listed in the report there, reducing the cost of community groups to use council halls can have several positive and social community outcomes, such as increased usage, greater community inclusivity and participation, and enhanced community engagement, particularly in the more regional parts of the municipality. I strongly recommend that we approve this today. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Councillor Palmer. Councillor Harris is the seconder.
Nothing further to add.
Further speakers around the table. Councillor Gibson.
Thanks so much. Look, I also want to support this. I know it's hard to believe, but lots of us have been doing great things in Lilydale, and this is one such thing that came from that pocket of the municipality wanting to ensure that our facilities are open for all manner of uses and accessible. And I think what this does, and I really thank Nathan and Dan and Shane and the team for putting this together, what it does is identifies that there are particular people who want to, when they can, take advantage of hall bookings and do things that are for the benefit of the community. And this reduction again shows the kind of ways that our council, through our community development focus and lens, is really ploughing back into building community. And I think this fee change really reflects that.
Further speakers around the table? Councillor Walker?
Only to reflect what the previous two speakers have said. Thank you, Chair, that this reduction is a great step in the direction towards supporting our community. You know, many times we hear from community members a lack of affordable meeting place. I suppose our halls generally haven't been used for meetings so much, more likely functions and events and that type of thing, but it does lend itself to that possibility as well. It becomes affordable for community groups who do struggle if they're meeting every month. To be paying a regular fee that, you know, as a group or a club, they just don't have that kind of money. So in full support of this reduction, Launceston Council is never going to make a profit out of these spaces. It's not the intention. They're there as community facilities, and as community facilities, they should be being used. Thank you.
Thank you, Councillor Walker. Councillor Kai.
I have a question. I was just wondering, with these council halls, are any of these for night hire?
Thank you. Thank you for your question. Our CFO, just around the use and timelines and if there's any restrictions around these reductions.
Thanks for the question, Councillor Kai. My understanding is they certainly can be used of an evening. There's no issue there at all.
Is it possible to have a list of the ones that are available to be hired out during night times?
Yeah, that can be provided to councillors. Or would you like that to be publicly stated as well?
I was hoping it would be publicly.
I believe it's on our website, actually. Thank you, Shane.
Website for the night hire as well. Thank you.
Further questions or comments? Councillor Palmer as the mover to close. Okay, putting it to the table, all of those in favour? That is all councillors present. Motion is carried. 16.2, progress against 22-23 annual plan actions for the period ending the 30th of June. The recommendation is to consider and approve the progress against 22-23 annual plan actions for that period. Do I have somebody to move the recommendation? Councillor Mackenzie, Deputy Mayor. Seconder, Councillor Pentridge. Deputy Mayor as the mover.
Thanks. I think this is just a good summary report on what we've done over the last 12 months, and we've achieved a lot of things to the 100% level. Some we didn't get there and there are good explanations included in the report as to why we didn't. So I'm comfortable to approve this report.
Great. Councillor Pentridge as the seconder.
Oh, thank you.
Any other comments from around the table? Deputy Mayor, anything further to close? Okay. Putting the motion to the vote, all of those in favour, that is all councillors present, the motion is carried. Agenda item number 17, Chief Executive Officer Network. 17.1, appointment of the Independent Audit Panel member, Kathleen Sales. The recommendation is to consider and approve the appointment of Kathleen Sales to the City of Launceston Audit Panel. Do I have somebody to move the recommendation? Councillor Britton? A seconder? Councillor Walker? Councillor Britton, as the mover, would you like to speak?
To say that I'm sure she's a good pick and it's a good idea. Thank you.
Excellent. Councillor Walker as the seconder. Anything further? No? Any other comments from around the table? Okay. Councillor Gibson?
Look, just one comment, and I think it should be the same for the appointment of all people moving forward. We in the past have said it would be good as an attachment just to have a little overview of who it is that council is endorsing. So I think moving forward with all community appointees, whether or not they're remunerated or not, that would be worthwhile. We certainly have spoken about that in the past. I don't know Kathleen. I obviously have full trust in the recruitment process, but I think it would be prudent to do that moving forward.
CEO.
So I was fortunate to be on the interview panel along with the chair of the audit panel and Leanne, and have to say that Kathleen was very impressive. Extensive local government background, accounting and governance primarily. Probably couldn't have got a better pick to complement the skills that we have on the audit panel, and the fact that she's currently employed out of local government, so she does provide that independence and another view from a different sector on our panel. So yeah, as I say, it was a very thorough process, very well qualified candidates, and we can certainly provide further details of that in due course. But needless to say, she was very highly recommended by the panel.
Great, thank you. Further comments? Councillor Britton to close. Okay, putting the motion to the vote, all of those in favour? That is all councillors present. Motion is carried. Agenda item 18, meeting closure at 1:53. Next meeting will be held at